And welcome. This is the premiere edition of Hypothetically Speaking, news you can use to, frankly, make a difference in your community. Our goal with this program is, frankly, to reduce surprises. There's a lot of that going around, particularly with public policy items. Unless you've got the time to do a lot of research, a lot of exploring, and frankly chase down a lot of agendas and people, it's virtually impossible for you to keep tabs on what's going on in your community. That's where our job comes in. Our role is to try and keep you abreast of the current happenings, the current effects, those things that should make a difference in your life, whether it's at the Janesville City Council meeting or City Council in Milton, perhaps in Beloit or elsewhere, even the Rock County Board of Supervisors, that little entity at the top of Courthouse Hill that does so many things the community isn't aware of. We'll also try and keep a pulse on what goes on in the private not-for-profit community. That's those private organizations that you don't hear much about. It may be the Boys and Girls Club, or it could be the YWCA or the YMCA. It could be Community Action of Rock and Walworth County. All of those organizations play a huge role in what goes on in your community. We do this because the Rock County Civics Academy is committed, heart and soul, to the idea that it's important to you to be an active part of your community. I like to say, if not you, who, and frankly, if not now, when. So those are our goals. That's our job going forward. And we want to hear from you regularly as we take on this task of trying to be your barometer, your pulse for what's going on in our greater Rock County community. It's a beautiful community, and it's one we want to take good care of. And we'll do our darndest to make sure you stay informed. And by the way, the other obligation we place on you is very simple. We want your feedback. Reach out to us. You can find us at rockcountycivicsacademy.org. We've got a Facebook page. We also are well known and about in the community a lot. So don't be afraid to reach out and let us know what you think. Tell us things that you think we should be talking about, things that we should be pursuing, ideas that maybe you've heard of, or rumors on the street that need to get verified or brought to light. In the period of time the Rock County Civics Academy has been around, we've done a pretty remarkable job of keeping a pulse on the community, and quite honestly, we've had a track record of being ahead of the news cycle, as it were. And we want to keep it that way, and one of the reasons why we do is because of you. And one of the reasons how we do that is, frankly, again, because of you. But let's get started. We have been now for the past several weeks doing a column on Substack. You can go to substack.com, keywords Rock County Civics Academy, and you'll find a newsletter that we call Hypothetically Speaking. It's an interesting title. It's intended to be kind of a compendium of local news events with a bit of analysis, perhaps some commentary, and then we throw out an idea or two at the end of that commentary in the hopes that, well, maybe we'll trigger something within the hearts and minds of our public officials, our decision makers, that they'll pick up and they'll run with. One of the things that we've learned in the years that we've been an observer of local affairs, you've got to keep tabs on things on a regular basis. It's ironic how something that occurred 6 months ago that we might have noticed or may not have noticed, a non-event, as it were, that turns out to be something significant that gets into the public eye, oftentimes without much notice. And that brings chaos and confusion to the community that, well, we should be able to avoid if we pay attention to what's happening. As we talk about things, I typically like to start with what's going on in the Janesville City Council, and the same is so true there. While we address emerging issues and timely things, well, we sometimes want to go back and provide some context as to why things are important and how they appeared, and why they appeared in the fashion that they did. Give you an example. Not so long ago, resolutions were presented to the City Council that contained the annual appointments of the City Council President and the Janesville City Manager. Unlike many communities, by virtue of, I believe it's the charter ordinance, the city manager in Janesville exercises some of the same powers and responsibilities statutorily as that of a mayor, which is kind of ironic given the fact that there's always that underlying tension. Do we want to have a mayor in this community, or do we want a city manager council form of government? At any rate, he has a list of appointments that he makes. The council president has a list of appointments they make. In order to help both of those groups, individuals, to do a non-partisan sort of approach to picking and choosing those citizens who serve on committees that have such an impact in our community, years ago, the City Council created what's known as the Advisory Committee on Appointments. The Advisory Committee on Appointment is charged with the responsibility of recruiting volunteers and vetting those volunteers, attempting to match up skills and talents of the applicants in such a way that they fit for the requirements that come up for you to be a member of the Planning Commission, for example, or the Police and Fire Commission, or a member of the Parks and Recreation Board. There's essentially about a dozen different boards that the Advisory Committee on Appointments makes recommendations for to either the council president or to the city manager. And in all the years since about 2008 that the Advisory Committee has existed, well, their recommendations have been pretty much left intact, and what they have recommended in their nonpartisan way of reviewing professionally, matching up skills with needs, and taking the politics out of those selections. In all the years since their inception, well, they've by and large been accepted unanimously in their recommendations. And that's the recommendations that you see typically going forward to the council. Well, the last round, and frankly, maybe the last 2 years, when we brought in a new city manager, we brought in a different approach, I guess, to those appointments. The city manager respected most of the appointment recommendations coming from the ACA, the Advisory Committee. But on 2 occasions, once last year and once again this year, he's chosen, for whatever reason, to scratch the recommended nominee from the Advisory Committee for, of all things, the Library Board. And he's inserted his own choices. And nobody is going to take away from the city manager his right, his authority to exercise that discretion. That's something that is written into the ordinance that creates his role. It says he has that discretion. But if we lived in a perfect world, that discretion would be exercised, and there'd also be an explanation as to why the change. I use as an example, when the governor gets a budget that's been approved by the legislature and he goes in with his line item veto and he makes his changes, he not only is legally exercising his right to make those changes in a veto, but he even goes so far as to provide a veto message to explain why he did what he did. And that's oftentimes the key to making a difference between the public understanding the selection and the public otherwise being left miffed, scratching their heads saying, why? Well, fact of the matter is, one of the areas that we believe can be improved, and it falls directly within the goals of what we're about, active citizen participation in government, is, hypothetically speaking, what if the city manager were to concur with a recommendation that came from the city council that said, Advisory Committee on Appointments, we believe in your mission of selecting appointees in a professional fashion, a meritorious fashion, in an open process. We want to match best talents and skills to the jobs we have available for those volunteers, and we will pledge to respect your judgments. Well, that would be a big, giant step ahead of where we are today. To that end, I guess what I'm going to recommend is perhaps the city council, as they exercise their responsibilities Monday night and consider a resolution honoring our volunteers, perhaps they add an amendment on there that challenges the advisory committee on appointments to go out and look at best practices in municipalities across the country and come back with their recommendations on how to improve the appointment process to make it more transparent, to make it less seemingly political, and to ensure that those appointments are done on a meritorious basis and not the product of well, who knows? We don't know because, frankly, we didn't get that veto message when it occurred the last couple of times. Just a thought, hypothetically speaking, it may be a good idea for you to follow up and let your council members know if you agree with the idea. Tell them, yeah, go ahead and pursue it. It's a good thing. Before I leave the Janesville City Council this time, I do want to mention that there is a strategic planning or a planning retreat of some sort being contemplated that will put the Janesville City Council behind closed doors, as it were. I hope it's going to be a public meeting, maybe with or without public participation, but it should be an open session. A retreat where they'll have an opportunity to discuss a variety of topics and how they can address the issues facing the city. This could be happening as early as perhaps next Saturday. The agenda hasn't been posted yet, but there is time for you to reach out to your city council members and say something to the effect of, these are the top 3 issues that I believe you should be contemplating and discussing during this retreat session that you're putting together. Let the council know what you think is important in the city. That's the only way that you're going to make a difference in where the city is headed, what the direction is and the course that they're going to take. So that's my quick reminder for you. You have an opportunity to make a difference, and you will make a difference if you choose to get actively involved and try and make that difference in a constructive way. A quick follow-up before we close. Last weekend we helped out with a workshop with the Beloit School Board. We talked about issues with them in a constructive way, about managing the governance process, organizing and directing meetings, and we talked about Robert's Rules of Order, and that's a session all unto itself sometime. But I shared with him the 2 most important rules that aren't written down on how you function successfully within a governing board. Doesn't matter if it's public or it's private, but these are the 2 most important rules that you have to adhere to if you're going to be successful. 1, you as a board member have to respect the institution that you are about and the purpose for which it was created. And number 2, you have to respect your partners, the fellow members of your board. If you don't have that respect, you have chaos. One of the things that follows chaos is surprises, and surprises come from a lack of communication. And that's why we're here. Join us weekly. We will be here with news that we believe you can use to be a more effective part of your community. It's time for us to, well, challenge you. Our challenge of the day is get involved, because if you get involved and get informed, you will make a difference for your community here and make it a better place for all of us to reside. Have a great day.